What's up, guys? I'm SaltEMike, and this is your Star Citizen Week in Review for November 24th, 2025. 4.4 is now live with the Perseus and more, and because of that, yeah, IAE is also running, so there's some really interesting and unique ships coming, and yeah, engineering is a bit of a mess, but it's coming in the next patch. All that and more on today's Week in Review. And as always, if this is your first week in review, this is where I take all of the official Star Citizen news each week, put it into one video, and share some of my opinions about it. I also live stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/SaltEMike, and stop by and say hi if you haven't yet. I know a lot of you guys did for the drop, so I do appreciate it. Yeah, we have so much to get into this week, so before we do, let's jump into today's sponsor. Thank you to Manta Sleep for sponsoring this video. Manta Sleep makes the world's best sleep masks and functional sleep accessories. Ever since Manta Sleep asked me to try one of their masks, it was part of my nightly and naply routine from that point forward. Now, today, I want to talk to you about something a little different. If you're like me, you can't sleep in silence. I need a podcast or a video or something with speech to keep my mind from racing, and I then eventually fall asleep. But many of you need something more subtle and a little less distracting. That is where the new Manta White Noise Machine comes in. It can make all sorts of noise I didn't even know existed. White, brown, coral, pink, and pearl. It has 5 different fan sounds and rain sounds. Check it out. Right? You can switch between them. All sorts of different things that might fit your needs. You can raise and lower the volume. It has this special remote that you can have near your bed while having the speaker a little bit further away, as well as
8 hours.
There's a timer, and the lady speaks to you, which is
off.
Really cool. So yeah, let's turn this off with the remote. And yeah, I really like this thing. It's really, really cool. So if you're interested in picking up a mask or a Manta White Noise Machine, head to the link below and use code SaltEMike to get 10% off. Thank you to Manta Sleep again. And yeah, these guys are awesome. All right, and with all the bills paid, let's get into the patch updates. All right, starting on Monday, we had a 4.4 PTU, and they called this the release candidate 1, and there's something unique with this one. The only line item here is really just more Nyx performance, but this is the first patch that it felt actually impactful. The first thing is the Glacium Belt isn't randomly popping in and out anymore when we QT around it and stuff, and I think the more important thing I wanted to check out was something that plagued the patch the entire time, regardless if we had a better frame rate, and that was NPC ship teleporting while you were fighting them. That seems to be resolved as well. We all know, PTU and live are 2 totally different things, and we'll get more into that. But yeah, I was super concerned that all of these issues would go into live, and they honestly did address those issues. Now, there were some more. And oh yeah, this is the first time we got to see the Perseus, but only the belly above IAE, unless you wanted to kind of fly up on top of it, but I just waited for live. Live was on Wednesday, 4.4. This is the culmination of all the patches that we've been talking about for nearly a month. But of course, the main thing is Nyx and Levski and a little bit of content added to it, as they're going to do more of this slow trickle approach instead of the 5-year wait for Pyro like we've had before. I don't really consider this a negative at all, honestly, but don't expect me to be overly hyped for something like this either, right? There's just not a lot here, but I think it's probably the right way to do things. The launch was less than ideal, of course. There were a ton of issues, including ASOP ships not being there or spawning, massive interaction delays. The game services went down to address this late Wednesday night and early Thursday morning, at least for me. And okay, let's just get into my experiences, because I started after that downtime. The overall patch worked so much better than I expected, except for until we got to Drake Day. I do record on Sunday mornings, so this was last night. And obviously, I checked out a few of the new ships, specifically the RSI Salvation and the Drake Clipper. More on those in a little bit. I completed all of the requirements to get the new Vandal Tech Smugglers mission, and I completed the mission on my first try, which was really nice. It ran really well, and I did not have the laptop issue that a lot of people were having and that they had to hotfix for. More on that in just a second. I did a contested zone, and that was honestly a bit of a mess, and I mostly just kind of wanted to see if people were there. There were 3 people on the server, and even then the AI were acting that way, so weird. I can also confirm that the site B door works really well, and it's still soloable, and the AI are more accurate now, so it's a little bit harder, and I will leave the new surprise there for you guys to find out, because it caught me off guard and it was pretty funny. Now I know people have been locked out of this game with all sorts of issues, but given how bad the PTU was, I was actually pleasantly surprised that they kind of pulled it all together and delivered Nyx in a way, that, yes, is not complete, but that can slowly build out and hopefully avoid any major disasters on the gameplay side like they did this time. Maybe not on the login side, but definitely on the gameplay side. That was, of course, until Drake Day, and like I said, the mission system just decided it was going to stop working for me. And I just sat there waiting for a patrol mission to progress, and it never did. I also had issues changing components and things like that. So there's lots for them to hotfix and figure out. Now, speaking of hotfixes, on the 20th, they're kind of just trying to fix accounts being locked, but this still continued up to today. On the 21st, they're trying to fix the audio issues in Nyx with the Perseus and other ships. But yeah, they said that they have some fixes there, but it won't fully fix it. And they're generally just trying to fix some DGS crashes, which are like the server errors, and then the fix for the laptop not appearing in the Vandal mission. So that was the patch. Just a quick rundown there. Again, there's not a whole lot in this patch. It is the IAE sale. We'll talk about that in other updates. So let's jump into Roadmap Roundup. All right, starting out, they're closing the 4.4 card, saying everything is released, but they did make a note that the Max Ox weapons, they finished size 1 and 2, but they did not finish size 3 in time, so I'm assuming that'll come in a .1 or another patch or something. Then to my surprise, but I guess it shouldn't be since 4.4 is released, they told us about 4.5. I guess I was expecting like a 4.4.1, and the really weird part here is, and let me know what you guys think, Engineering and Fire are the first 2 cards on the list. We saw how the tech preview was going. I wouldn't say this is anywhere close to being ready. We'll talk more about it in other updates in the dev post as well. It's not working on all the ships. It doesn't even have armor, and yeah, I expect tech previews until next year, to be honest, on this. That's how unfinished it feels. Now, this is, is that much of an issue? The game's still in an alpha. Who cares if some ships have it or not? I don't know. Should we care if it's complete, like the approach that they're taking with Nyx? This should be slow and methodical? Is that a better approach? Probably, but I don't know. It just is so far away. Can they pull it together, kind of like they did with the performance issues in Nyx? Maybe. They then mention physical helmets, which it's a nice touch, but the next card is exciting for me. It's the new FPS barrel attachments, especially because they're listed to be Scorch and Tweaker power levels, and there's a Volt flashlight as well, but I like kind of the building of guns and watching the gun improve, and you don't have a lot of choice right now. You just use Tweaker barrel, you use a laser, and you use Scorched scopes. So having more stuff there is just better. Vulcan render improvements are listed as well, and FPS AI improvements and more hairstyles. And since Jared is in the game, they gave his, they gave us his beard and hair as well, it looks like. So pretty cool. And that was the roadmap update. Just very surprising on 4.5 and specifically engineering. Let's get into a very quick video updates. All right, and reluctantly, let's start out with Talking Shop. So Talking Shop just wasn't a Spotify kind of thing. It was on YouTube as well, and this was the hardest thing to get through. This was worse than the holiday live stream in 2016 for me. Jackson McCleary does show up in the first episode at like 16 minutes or something like that. That was decent. But yeah, I'm not the target audience for these at all. I didn't get through the first one, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, I couldn't even bring myself to start the Drake one. They'll be linked below, but a fake Star Citizen podcast with no useful information, as far as I can tell, is just not for me. Now, there were a ton of behind the ships videos and ship sale videos and things like that. I really didn't gather much to share with these because, yeah, they're all just artists talking about the art of the ship, and there's very little gameplay stuff. The Clipper, the best information we got was that the crafting table will not be active on the sale, which goes completely against the things that they have said in the past of we're not releasing a ship unless all of its features are working. But yeah, all the BTS videos will be linked down below, so if you guys are interested in checking those out and watching them, they're there. And yeah, there just wasn't a lot to pull out from those, and there's a lot more to discuss in other updates, so let's jump into that. All right, and of course, we'll start out with the sneak peek, and it's probably one of the more meaningful ones that we've had in some time, in my opinion. This is clearly a new medical armor of some type, and it looks like it's light armor, of course, but the few things, there's quite a few things, actually, to unpack here. First off, they're showing 8 med pens, and I assume that is the amount of med pens that this armor can have attached to it, where the standard is kind of 4, right? On the left, it's showing 2 med kits. This might be cope here, but maybe it represents a change to medical gameplay, needing these type of med kits to do, kind of field surgery or things like that, kind of Tarkov style, right? On the right side of the armor, from our POV, there appears to be a new medical gun with a blue canister instead of green. I don't know, oxygen juice or something. There's also a button with the label that says charge on it if you get really close. Lastly, the helmet. This year we did not get some expected features like more visors for helmets. We still just have the combat one with the reticle. Now, this probably won't happen, but perhaps the inclusion of the helmet in this sneak peek implies that. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think, medical peeps, about all this. I know you've been getting the shaft lately, but this certainly looks like if you wear this armor, you are actively choosing to be a medic and less effective in combat and things like that. IAE. All right, so obviously the big thing this patch is simply the convention stuff and the ship sales. So down below, we will be covering all the new stuff. So let's start out with the big one, and that's RSI Day. So the Perseus is actually a lot more fun than I expected it to be. It is a lot more nimble and everything, and overly they do use the space really nicely inside. I think some of the paints are quite cool on the ship as well. The white and gold kind of Wicklow style is my favorite. But yeah, I'm going to say it. The price is just going to price out so many people for a ship that just doesn't require that big of a crew. $700 war bond and $800 if you use store credit. No matter how good this thing is, this is a wait for Wicklow or an in-game shop ship for me. The Q&A for the Perseus, I think the most important question is how does it compare to other ships that it's competing with? They say that the Hammerhead is an anti-fighter ship. One day, I think they'll get that right, but it's not just yet. And the Polaris kind of takes on capital ships, while the Perseus takes on ships like the Hammerhead, but we have seen groups of Perseus do really well against cap ships. So that's kind of cool. And then, of course, all of the solo pilots need to know, can they use the turrets? And the answer is yes and no. You could fire torpedoes and the small top turret, but like the learning that they've gotten from the Paladin, the powerful turrets are required to be manned, and I love that. Next is the Salvation, and not a whole lot to say here. They have reclassified the old starting salvage ships to be something else, but they're all listed as light, and the RSI is like a starter. I don't know. I don't really know the idea of it, but I like RMC gathering and group salvage, right? So for the fact that this has 6 SEU and 6 SEU buffer, it isn't really a problem for me, and I think the salvage panel being in the cockpit is really great for that. It could definitely use one on the back. I put that in the feedback thread. There is a feedback thread for all these ships, so make sure you give those. The salvage page has some, cool images for the ship, and yeah, the BTS for it is all looking cool and everything, but as per usual, we have no idea what the in-game price for this will be. So you have to assume it will be quite low, and the real money price is a starter-focused price at $55 war bond. That's new money, and $60 if you use any store credit. Paints aren't that great on this one, so I think holiday paints would look sick on this, so I'm kind of hoping they're included there. The Q&A for the Salvation. The first is, I think, odd. I might be missing something here, but they say the Salvation has bespoke scrapers. I can swap the standard ones, which are cinch, standard on all the other ships as well, for an abrade right now. So not sure what's going on there, and Lord, I hope they keep it that way, because cinches are brutal, and if their goal here is to make this feel like a starter ship by making it just bad at RMC when that's really the only thing it's good at, I think like the reduced cargo is fine. Then the second is really just to define its role. You are either alone and you got to kind of make a lot of trips with that buffer of 6 SU, or you could potentially be really effective here in a group setting like I spoke earlier. I'm definitely excited for doing that. Next is the Clipper. The jury for me is still out on this ship because of what I mentioned about Drake Day. That was my chance to try it so far before recording this video. I record Sunday mornings. I'm going to give it more of a try after recording this. But it is definitely the master of none. I'm not sure if it's kind of great at anything yet. It doesn't seem to be. It's definitely unique and super cool looking, right? That's what it's great at. And it has a very Imperial transport vibe with the wings, but also Mando Razor Crest vibes on the interior. So it's kind of cool from that standpoint. And the first thing I did was orange patrol contracts. And yeah, the ship kind of, let me tell you, has the worst stock components I've ever seen on any ship, but upgraded, it was better. And yeah, just upgrade the ship, put on laser repeaters, and you'll be okay in these. Paints are not the best for me. I think the stock, to be honest, or the yellow one is maybe my favorite. I think $150 is a decent price considering the Cutlass is $110 and it does so much more than a Cutlass. So they're really kind of killing off those old ships for new these days. The Q&A from the Clipper is the main answer is quite expected based on looking at it. But they confirm that the crafting table on the ship will produce personal items, so things like ammo, guns, and armor, but maybe other things in the future. And they will produce from the cargo hold and anything that you can place in it, like individually into the crafting table. I heard somebody tell me that there's like a chute if you look behind you on the crafting table. I didn't notice that initially. Also, wings on the ship go up and down, so people want to know if they could do that outside of raising and lowering landing gear, like, you know, left alt K or right alt K, and you cannot. Wings only open and close based on landing gear. And then the Drake Golem Ox. Yeah, so this is a Golem that can hold 64 SU of cargo and has a dedicated tractor beam in the back. Sounds really good, right? Like, but nothing great, nothing special. But holy, if you look at the signature stats on Urkel on this thing, you will never see it. Its highest stat is 1,000. So it might be a really good smuggler here and pretty exciting. Paints on it aren't super great yet. For me, the price wasn't horrible at $80 war bond and $90 if you use any store credit. So it might be a solid Hathor runner or some ships to do high value trades in Pyro. All right, let's get into dev posts. Dead Saints is the first one, and it's pretty simple. If you're liking the Dead Saints missions, they are on the Unlawful tab if you're looking for them. You can haul some pretty wild things, and as I explained last week, right? But yeah, basically these are limited in missions so far, and they plan to add more in the future. People were asking about it, and yeah, they're just basic. You don't gain rep with them. Those are the missions you have. Then commodity trading was, I mean, there were 50 posts from this guy, and they're actually quite important to listen to. And the original post is just linked down below so you can go through all the replies. But I think the main change here is that they're doing twofold. They're making some commodities in short supply and high value, and others in big supply and container size, and still good value, but at scale. The other more important thing is each bracket, as in like 2 SU brackets, 8 SU bracket, 32 SU bracket, as we do things as we run cargo in those brackets, if you're doing the top earning cargo run, the game should eventually lower the sale price to be, or the ROI to be below the second best cargo run. And then eventually the second best cargo run becomes the best one, right? And so on. And so, you know, there's semi-dynamic economy happening here, like potentially. I do plan on spending some time with these in 4.4, but I have not yet. So this remains to be seen on how well and how dynamic this is. But interesting here. Engineering, I want to start out with the relay changes, as they were the hardest to notice in the tech preview. The main thing to understand here is that when you lose a fuse or take one out, the available power will go down, meaning you simply have less pips to work with from your power plant. The other thing is the elephant in the room, and what I think basically just makes any additional tech previews pointless until they address this. The time to kill a ship. It is way too fast, but the takeaway here is they know this, and they are asking for a bit of patience, and this is their number one priority. They don't even want to add more to the loop or armor or anything like that until they address this, and I think that that is great. And then Twitch drops. After just a few days, it's hard to say this was not a success. Yes, I gained a ton of followers and did very well myself, so maybe I'm personally biased, but let's look at the stats here. I think you and everyone coming from YouTube to stop by and everything was great, but yeah, again, let's break this down. They had almost 40,000 viewers in the category on its peak at like on the 20th when it dropped. That is 2,000 less viewers than CitizenCon people. This brings new people to the game, which is honestly their biggest issue, is kind of growth of their backer space right now, right? And it has been for the last couple of years. I know this year has been better than last, but this is, clearly an initiative for them, and I think it worked. Obviously, CitizenCon people are attentive, but this one, it still is relevant and useful for marketing, right? You have to assume this might become a more regular thing from here on out. I never expected it to be this popular at this stage of the game, but people love free stuff. Man, I used to work at the casino and people would wait hours for a poorly made grill that they could have just bought for $30 at Walmart. So yeah, people like free stuff. And with that, we are free of this video now. So this is where I'm going to end it. Thank you so much for watching. Hit the like button if you enjoyed it. It was a lot to put together this week. Subscribe if you really enjoy Weeks in Review and want more. And leave a comment down below on anything we discussed and anything I might have missed. And I will catch you guys next week. Thanks again.